What's going on, guys? So, it's been a minute, but before I get on the topic, once again, I'm going to say this. Add me on Facebook so you can see all the posts and everything of where I share it and stuff like that. I don't share that many things, but you'll see when I post. Also, you can turn on like notifications for when I upload a video. But yeah, go down below and add me on Facebook. So, I'll accept anybody. So add me. But anyways, let's get on with the topic that I have for today, which I feel like a lot of people kind of struggle and have with, which I've had in the past, which everybody does, and it's how to deal with deciding, what ruling is correct and which one is not. So when you're at a tournament, it's obvious. When you have to deal with a ruling, you call a judge. And when you call a judge, they'll figure it out, but usually you try to figure out the ruling between each other before you call the judge. But when you're playing with friends, that's not always, not usually a thing. Even when you're playing at a locals, there might be a local judge, but usually you just play the tournament between each other, and if there's really a problem, you call in other players to maybe get an assistance, which you can also use when you play with friends, but you call another friend. But the only problem with that option is you call somebody, they might be biased towards the other person. They might favor the other person or something like that. It's something you run to, especially in locals. If you're newer there and you're playing against somebody who plays there all the time, sometimes maybe, depending on the ruling, the person might favor the person that's there all the time and you're the new person. So that's not always the best option to call another person, though usually that is the answer, because if you and your opponent really cannot agree for some odd reason, because there's not that many rulings right now that you can agree with, but for some reason if something happens that you cannot agree with, calling in another player or the judge usually can resolve that. But what else can you do if that doesn't solve your issue, or if that option's not available? Maybe you're just playing against one other person, or maybe you are a group of friends, 3 or 4, and the other people don't have the answer either. What do? Well, the obvious one is you look it up online. That's what I would say a lot of people do if you really can't get an answer for somebody else. You Google it, you see what's up, you ask around and see if anybody has any insight on what to do for that particular situation. Now, the internet can be a crumbly-jumperly of things, and if you're in the middle of a duel, you're not going to sit and wait on a forum or on Zodiac to get an answer. So you could message somebody. For me, I have access to a bunch of YouTubers, so if I needed to, I could ask them for a ruling. But if you don't have access to a bunch of people, messaging them might not be quick, take too long, and really, if you're just dealing with friends, how long are you going to take it seriously? Like, hold on, I got to contact like 10 people right now. Make sure this ruling is correct. Like, you're playing against a friend. Unless you're really an asshole, then it doesn't really matter. So, and like I said, when you're at a tournament, that situation is usually handled by a judge. You don't have to. So this is more like friends and locals situation. So if you're at a locals, and like I said, a judge or somebody else can't really or a locals judge or other player can't figure it out, sitting there at a locals waiting for somebody to answer you on Facebook or something, or answer your friend on Facebook, is also not really an option. So what do you do if you really can't figure something out? Well, this is what I do. And you'd think it's common sense, but I run into people that will argue to the point to know that they're right. First of all, this is to anybody. You can only argue a ruling for so much. This isn't going to be me about talking about Yu-Gi-Oh players and their attitudes. I'm just talking about shortly that if you're arguing about a ruling over for 10 minutes and you're not getting your way and you're getting upset, that's stupid. Even if you know you're right or you think you know you're right, just let it go. If it's nothing serious, like I said, in a tournament, the judge will take care of it, so you kind of have to take their word for it. Even though judges can be wrong, you still have to kind of take their word because they're what binds it. But if you're playing with friends and you're arguing about a ruling for 10 minutes, don't be an asshole. That's, like, why would you do that? Like, you're playing with friends. Don't ruin a good time. But if you are level-headed, but you and your friend just, in a nice way, can't agree on a ruling, just like, man, I don't know, that might be, like, I don't know if it does that. And he's like, well, I think it does. It might work out like that. But you guys can't agree, but you're not being, like, overly upset about it. You guys are both like, I don't know. Usually with me, I'll just give it to the person. Some people would say that makes me a bad player, but, like, I don't care that much if I'm playing with my friends. I'll just be like, you can do it. I don't care. But if it's really something you don't both know about and you can't find an answer to, the easiest way and a fair way to do it is a dice roll. Be like, okay, if I get the highest number, it doesn't work. But if you get the highest number, then the ruling works on your side. Just like, if you really can't figure it out, I feel like that is the nicest and most fair way to figure it out. You leave it up to chance. Because, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Already has got a lot of chance played in it. Why not throw another Another thing is chance into the mix. Now this video might seem self-explanatory, but I see a lot of people before that don't get along, and if there's a certain ruling, they'll even fight, even among friends. Now, I actually have not really participated in this much. Me and my friends that I have played with in the past are usually easygoing, especially when we got older and played. Like, when I got back into it, we don't really argue. Like, my friend Luke that I've seen in videos, if you're a long-time subscriber, there's been tons of times where, like, he'll say he'll let it go, or I'll let it go. Unless if it's like, okay, if we think about this and read it. It's like if you really can't decide the ruling. But yeah, it sounds self-explanatory, but people don't do it. So let me know down below what you do to solve a ruling if there's nothing I listed here. I feel like the dice roll is the most fairest way if you really can't figure out among friends or locals. But if it's a main tournament, you kind of have to listen to the judge. I mean, you can argue it to a point, but you know what I mean? But there's also not that many rulings right now that you can argue unless your player's like flat out cheating. Then you can definitely be like, judge, man, he's pulling some strings. He's fucking around. Like, you know what I mean? But hey, let me know down below. Add me on Facebook, and I'll see you later, guys. Peace. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.